Hello and welcome to The Top Story, a podcast that gives you the why and how for a better understanding of the world's top events. I'm Sui. In this edition, we take a look at the ongoing ministerial conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Dakar, Senegal. Chinese President Xi Jinping has announced that China will provide an additional 1 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines to Africa. He made the announcement while addressing the opening ceremony of the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation via video link.
为实现非盟确定的2022年
To help the African Union realize its target of vaccinating 60% of African population by 2022, China will provide another 1 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines for Africa, including 600 million doses for free and remaining 400 million doses in ways including joint production by Chinese enterprises and relevant African countries. China will also assist African countries in carrying out 10 medical and healthcare projects and send 1,500 medical workers and public health experts to Africa.
By November 12th, China has provided more than 1.7 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines to more than 110 countries and organizations, including 50 African countries and AU Commission. Chinese firms have been actively engaging in joint vaccine production in Africa with local firms. They've started localized production in Egypt. The Chinese president says China and Africa have forged unbreakable fraternity and embarked on a distinct path of cooperation in the past decades.
中非关系为什么好？中非友谊为什么深？
Why do China and Africa have such a close relationship and so deep a bond of friendship? The key lies in an everlasting spirit of China-Africa friendship and cooperation forged between the two sides, which features sincere friendship and equality, win-win for mutual benefit and common development, fairness and justice, and progress with the times, and openness and inclusiveness.
The Chinese president put forward 4 proposals to build a China-Africa community with a shared future in the new era, calling on both sides to fight COVID-19 with solidarity, deepen practical cooperation, promote green development, and uphold equity and justice. The Chinese president also pledged to jointly implement 9 programs on China-Africa future cooperation. The programs include the Medical and Health Program, the Poverty Reduction and Agricultural Development Program, as well as the Trade Promotion Program. He says China will undertake 10 poverty reduction and agricultural projects for Africa, provide $10 billion of trade finance to support African export, and build a China-Africa industrial park for Belt and Road cooperation. China will also encourage its businesses to invest no less than $10 billion in Africa in the next 3 years. David Monnier, director of Center for Africa-China Studies with the University of Johannesburg, says agriculture projects and vaccine assistance announced by the Chinese president in his speech will really address the needs of African countries.
I think all these are critical areas that Africa really need assistance. Agriculture is the key, and perhaps this initiative might as well kickstart the long-delayed Africa's agricultural revolution. And we're living in a COVID environment, and Africa is the worst affected continent. And there are kind of assistance of having 1 billion assistance of vaccines from China. It will boost the numbers, what is needed at the moment, 600 million donation and 400 are jointly produced. But President Xi touched on yet another important aspect, which President Ramaphosa in South Africa and the entire African continent has been arguing for, is for the developed countries to release the IP in terms of manufacturing of vaccines to speed the vaccines spread across the world, so that we can deal with this pandemic collectively as the world. As it stands, there are a lot of division in the world with Western countries are not cooperating in that area. And therefore, I think this initiative will go a long way. On agriculture, once again, opening of markets, Chinese market, very critical for African products. I think what is needed to ensure that Africa produce quality products that enters China and really sell quite well, given the fact that the trade between the two is increasing.
The expert also says cooperation between China and Africa will help to boost poverty alleviation on the continent.
I think growth comes in well-designed projects that are clearly defined. President Xi went on giving specifics, practical, achievable, bankable projects, and that's the good start in which one would have low-hanging fruits in this area. I think what is needed is to ensure that China's Belt and Road Initiative, as well as the African plan to also deal with issues of free trade, as well as infrastructure development on the continent, will work together in terms of boosting agricultural activities, business activities, and with increased investments from China, I think that will go a long way in terms of dealing with poverty on the African continent.
That was David Monnier, Director of Center for Africa-China Studies with the University of Johannesburg, commenting on the highlights of the Chinese president's speech at the opening ceremony of the 8th Ministerial Conference of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. Now, our correspondent Robert Nagila has the highlights of the last FOCAC summit in 2018 held in Beijing and what can be expected at this year's summit.
Back in May this year, in a speech commemorating Africa Day, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said over 85% of the 8 major initiatives announced at the 2018 Beijing summit had been implemented, while 70% of the $60 billion supporting funds had been disbursed or earmarked. The 8 initiatives targeted were industrial promotion, infrastructure cooperation, trade facilitation, green development, capacity building, healthcare, people-to-people exchanges, and peace and security. This year's summit is all the more significant because, among other discussions, a new blueprint laying out the foundation for future China-Africa cooperation will be drawn up. The Chinese foreign minister proposed 4 areas to be considered for adoption. First, strengthening cooperation on the Belt and Road Initiative. 46 African countries and the AU Commission have already signed on. This will include cooperation measures targeting priority areas such as climate change, healthcare, investment, agriculture and security, among others. Second, there will be a joint effort to fight COVID-19. This will include facilitating vaccine procurement by African countries from China and advanced cooperation on joint vaccine production, including medical assistance from China. The third area is the pursuit of a common development goal and access to Chinese markets for African products. And finally, upholding equity and justice and strengthening coordination on international affairs under existing United Nations frameworks to take a common position.
That was Robert Nagila reporting. Senegalese President Macky Sall says Africa and China want to go further in their common ambition to achieve a shared prosperity for the well-being of the African and Chinese peoples. Sall says that Senegal, the FOCAC's co-chair, is pleased to hold this important meeting 3 years after the forum's last momentous summit in Beijing to further strengthen the long Chinese-African tradition of cordial friendship and dynamic partnership. The president says that since the FOCAC was established 21 years ago, Africa and China have moved forward hand in hand, as evidenced by the intensification of bilateral trade, investments, and the many achievements under various action plans. Within the framework of FOCAC, China has been helping African countries drilling boreholes, bringing precious water to those in dire need. As Gao Junyao reports, China has drilled 1,000 boreholes in Zimbabwe over the past 10 years, changing the life of thousands of local people.
At Lumene village in Zimbabwe's southern province of Matabeleland South, local villagers are fetching fresh and clean water from a China-funded borehole. 49-year-old Notogozo Ngulube says she used to travel for 2 to 3 hours every day to look for water. From the China-funded borehole that was drilled in August, she finally gets easy access to water.
I'm the one in the family that needs to get water. Thanks to the China-funded borehole, I no longer have to travel long distances looking for water. The borehole is right in the village, and I can get water whenever I need it. Now I have more time to do other house chores. With a solid water source, I'm planning to have a garden and plant some vegetables.
Lobukosi Malila is the councillor of the area. She says the borehole not only brings easy access to water, but also brings clean and safe drinking water, preventing locals from getting waterborne diseases.
Our lives have improved. So far, we haven't had any diarrhea because we are now getting clean water. No one has been to the hospital. We always have water. Before, we used to have 1 bucket per household. As for now, we are no longer queuing. We are getting our water freely at any time. We're very thankful because so far as this borehole has been drilled since August, it has been a lifesaver for this community.
Since 2012, China has drilled 1,000 boreholes in 6 of the 10 provinces in Zimbabwe. Duan Chuanxiu has been heading the borehole drilling team since 2014. He says it's quite challenging to drill boreholes. Sometimes his team drilled a depth of over 100 meters deep and couldn't find a drop of water. Despite the daunting challenges, Duan says he's doing a meaningful job.
这个项目确实挺好的。
Drilling boreholes is a great project. I feel proud to be engaged in such a project to provide assistance to Zimbabwe. It's very difficult to drill boreholes, but the moment water spurs from the borehole, local people get so excited and start to celebrate with dancing and singing. Looking at their joyful faces, I say to myself, all the hard work is worth it.
China has helped many African countries such as Senegal, Malawi, and Zambia in boreholes drilling, providing lifeline support to water-deprived communities. I'm Gao Junya reporting from Gwanda, Zimbabwe.
With that, we end this edition of The Top Story, which gives you the why and the how for a stronger understanding of all the top events that occur in China and around the world. Subscribe to the Top Story podcast to gain a competitive advantage in preparing yourself for the news events that are shaping our lives and our future. For more top stories and more, visit chinaplus.cri.cn and listen to the Beijing Hour online. Drop us a line on our podcast so we can provide you with even more content that interests you. I'm Sui. Thanks for listening.